In today's episode, we featured the brilliant Liv Matthews. She's a powerhouse in the world of psychological thrillers and mysteries. Liz is known for crafting gripping, twist-packed stories that pull you in from the very first page. Her work includes The Prank, The Twins, Silent Waters, and her newest release, To Love a Liar. Each one showcasing her talent for tension, emotional depth, and razor-sharp plotting. In our conversation, Liv opens up about her writing process, the inspiration behind her dark and addictive stories, and the journey that led her to become one of the most exciting voices in this genre. It's insightful, honest, and full of creative nuggets you won't want to miss. So sit back, tune in, and listen to Liv Matthews' story. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Hey, Liv, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And thank you for joining as a guest on the podcast today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I feel very privileged.
Not so, privilege is all ours. So before we kind of get in and hearing your story, do you want to give yourself a bit of an intro?
Yes. So, hello, everyone. My name is Liv Matthews, and I am the author of 4 thrillers. The Prank was my debut. The Twins was my second, which was an R&J pick. The third was Silent Waters, and my new one is called To Love a Liar, and that's been out for a couple of months now.
Amazing. Yeah, and I want to ask you actually about the Richard and Judy book pick. So I will ask you that shortly. But
Oh.
as always, I kind of want to know, like, when did it all start? Like, when did you start writing? And then I'm interested to see, because I know you've been in publishing as well. So yeah, what did it look like for you when you were younger in terms of writing?
So I've always written, and I feel like a lot of writers have this story that they've been writing since they were kids.
Yeah.
And since I could hold a pen, I was stapling bits of paper together and writing, and just the most ridiculous stories about my teddy bears. Or I wrote a book about the worst witch. Well, actually, it wasn't called The Worst Witch. It was called something like, I can't even remember, but huge plagiarism on The Worst Witch. um, but I just loved it. I loved writing. I loved illustrating my books. I wanted to be Jill Murphy, basically.
Yeah.
So I would, write and draw. And then I stopped during school, I think, because, work and everything got in the way. But then I got back into it when I was about 16, and I wrote this book about horses, and I wrote a trilogy that was based on The Tempest, which I still want to publish, by the way. I feel like maybe that moment has gone, but I still want to get it back. And then I was just writing, all the time where I could. And when I was at work, I was writing, because I used to work in international sales. So I would go on sometimes 2-week trips. I would do 4 countries in one go. And on the weekends that I was overlapping, I would write. But it was only when I left publishing, when I'd had my first son. So I went back to work for a little bit. And then I decided to leave work, because before pandemic, everyone was thing, and I come in from Hampshire, and I just wasn't really seeing him, my son. And so I decided, okay, is it now or never with writing? I will just try and give it a go. So I did. Oh, I had finished a book, which went nowhere.
Yeah.
Then I wrote what is now The Prank, and I got my lovely agent after submitting to, various, like 8 or 9 different agents. Yeah, and then I eventually got a deal with The Prank, but after about another year and a half of really editing it with my agent, because despite having worked in books, I had no idea how to lay out a book. I mean, I didn't even have a page break between chapters. That's how like green I was as a writer, which is so ridiculous. But yeah, and then eventually when we went on submission, it happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you feel that, like, because you said you worked in publishing, but in sales, right? So were you going around like promoting and like the authors, or what were you doing in terms of the sales with the publishing houses?
So, in the sales department, so I used to work in domestic sales, which is
Mhm.
the UK retailers,
Yeah.
and also international afterwards. So, domestic, I was looking after the Waterstones relationship, like head
Okay.
office,
Yes. Yeah.
and I was looking after Smith's Travel,
Yeah.
and I did manager as well for a time. And essentially, and when I was in international, it's the same thing, but in different territories. But I was selling the English language edition, so I
Yeah.
wasn't selling to other publishers of other.
Hmm.
Um, t- but yeah, it's about having a list of all the books you're publishing in the next kind of 6 months, or quarterly, however the retailers want you to present the books, and doing a really sharp pitch for those books.
Yeah.
So when I ever see authors, like I would never really um get to meet them really, apart from
Yes.
coffee, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Um, but the relationship that a publicist or a marketer, or obviously your editor have is very different. They're much closer to the author. But
Yes.
this really don't really get involved with the authors.
Do you think, did you do any writing during that time? Did you write your
Yeah,
debut novel during that time then that you were working?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When I think everyone in publishing kind of wants to be a
Yeah.
writer. We don't do it for the money, let's be
No.
honest.
Do you think that helped you as well? Or do you think that was just like, that's a career, but your passion and your drive was the kind of the thing that pushed you to then start seeking
Yeah. You
recognition?
know what? When I was writing, I never thought I would be published, but
Yeah.
then I thought, well, why not try?
Yeah.
Uh, I think it definitely helped me in terms of knowing which agencies I wanted to
Mm.
submit to, because I would sit in acquisitions meetings and people would talk about agency names. So
Yeah.
I kind of knew who might be um, appropriate to submit to. But I, when I was submitting, I didn't, so Matthews isn't really my name.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be kind of under the radar a little bit, because I also wanted to feel like I was doing it for me, and
Yes.
not, oh, she's worked in publishing. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely think also after I got a deal, it helped, because I kind
Yeah.
of knew jargon meant, and I knew what to ask for in terms of um, opportunities, and what was available with retailers and all
Yeah.
that, you know?
Yeah. So you had a bit of that insider knowledge, which kind of helped you
Yeah.
once you got there. Yeah.
Oh,
And I completely appreciate, like you just said, that you, with not having your, like with changing your surname, it's like, yeah, I've not got one up because I've worked in the publishing industry. It's like I've done it for myself and I've got here by
yeah.
myself, which is, yeah, it
Yeah,
then means
exactly.
so much more to you, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Because, I don't condone, loads of people in publishing are writers, and I think it is a massive advantage.
Mm,
Um, but there is a danger of kind of feeling like you didn't just get it because,
yeah.
you yeah,
Yeah. Because it's hard. Because I think, like, even now, like most publishing houses won't accept unsolicited manuscripts, right? So you have to have an agent. And then
yeah,
even now, agents are getting so busy that they are only having certain times, right, that they'll receive those manuscripts as well. So
yeah,
I think it is getting harder and harder, um, and much tighter. And I was going to ask you actually, like, because I always talk about this around like the difference between indie and traditional. And I think now we're seeing so many more independent authors out there for various reasons of their own. Did you have in your mind that that is the route that I want to go down? I only want to do traditional. And if so, like, what was the reason behind that?
Do you know, I think I've always wanted to be traditional, but I feel like the landscape is changing so much that
Yeah.
I would never be adverse to going to a small indie or digital. Like, I think there are really good pros to doing
Mhm.
all of different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
authors that are hybrid, so they do traditional and digital. I think, historically there might have been some snobbery around
Yeah.
digital publishing and things like that. Whereas I think now, um, the shelf space in retailers is such that actually, if you're traditionally published and you're not a huge name, it is really difficult to be visible. And,
Yeah.
you know, um, speaking as someone that isn't like a massive name, your book will go into a slot for a few weeks or a month at a time, depending on what the sales team can get, because,
Yeah.
they try really hard to get
Yeah.
all their some slots. Um, but yeah, it's not as easy as it probably might have been. I think that I read a
Mhm.
stat recently where there are 180 to 200,000 books published a year.
That's crazy.
Isn't that mad? And I think that was
Yeah.
just UK.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah.
'Cause I always think, the book reviewers on Instagram and stuff, like, that's like a full-time job.
Oh
Like,
my God.
I love reading, and I still struggle to, like, read a book
Yeah.
in between doing, like, all the other things. So I think, I mean, you can make money from that now, right? And I think heavily, do you, I mean, you as an author now, and you just mentioned there about, yeah, book sales and being traditionally published. Do you feel there's still an element on you in terms of marketing yourself? And then follow on from that, do you rely on like book reviewers and NetGalley and things like that?
100%. Like, I feel more than ever, you need to market yourself,
Mm.
because sadly, it's not enough that a publisher markets you. And also, they don't have the budget to market you in a way that makes everybody visible. So, having a social media platform, like, they told me to have one. So I
Yeah.
did. And that's exactly why. It's because you need to raise your head above the precipice. But,
Mm.
at the same time, you're kind of adding to the noise. So then it becomes really difficult to be visible online too,
Yeah.
which is, I think, where the bloggers come in and the
Yes.
Bookstagram community and everyone else. Because honestly, like the prank, when that came out, it was in the second lockdown.
Yeah.
So there were only supermarkets open. Um, and I the a few bloggers like really caught hold of the prank and really championed it. And I honestly don't know what it would have done without it. I mean, it didn't like break any records,
Yeah.
but it died. And I feel, really indebted to those
Yeah.
bookstagrammers.
Yeah.
They are an amazing bunch of people. And, it is all about word of mouth at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
Yeah.
Book, market it and you could put it on the shelves, which obviously helps. But
Yeah.
having talk about it, like I've bought so many books. I don't know if you do the same,
Yeah.
but I've bought so many books via Instagram because
Yeah.
you know, you get to
Yeah.
trust people, don't you?
You
And they're,
do. Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's like, I think the genres that you're interested in, you start to follow those,
yeah.
bookstagrammers, and then you're like, oh, okay, read that one. And then your TBR pile just becomes like 500, and
Oh my God,
you're trying to get through them all.
unmanageable.
Yeah. You see people's backgrounds and they're like just like bookshelf after bookshelf
I
after
know.
bookshelf.
I know. You got a TBR as long as you're
I do. Yeah. I feel bad though, like I want to keep buying books, but then I feel bad like if I don't have time to read them, like because I genuinely love reading, and I
yeah.
feel like they're just sitting there. I'm like, oh, and then you buy more. Um, so I do limit myself to how many I have. But again, like it's just fun the time because yeah, fun the time to read. Like I've been generally I read at night. But recently I've been so tired that I've been reading, and then like before I know it, my eyes are getting heavy, and then you're like, oh, I need to like, I really want to read this book. But then yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, ebbs and flows. Like is sometimes I can finish a book in 2 days, other times it might take me like 2-3 weeks. Yeah, just depending on the time that I have to read. So yeah.
Totally. And also, I feel like buying books and reading books are two different hobbies.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like now, like I am 100% that individual that gets captured by the book cover as well. So I went into a bookstore the other day and I was like, oh, they're so pretty. And like, I don't know what, not the you know, the end of the pages. A lot of books now have started
Oh, yeah, the spread.
having that as well. Yeah, so you're like, oh wow. And then I picked up like 4 books, and then I was like, right, no, just put some down, like limit yourself.
Give yourself a talking.
Yeah, give myself talking to 100%. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do think, yeah, that we're in a world now that we can freely market ourselves much easier because there's the platforms, but it's still quite competitive. And like I said, that stat about how many books are being released in a year is
Mm,
crazy. And I think, how do
yeah,
you stand out? Like, how do you stand out? Because I think even like with Instagram, you could get a really big following, but are they buying your books? Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, how do you
exactly.
even tailor it to the individuals that like your content, but also are going to like the genre that you write in? So
So true. And a really good point, because I am a bit of an idiot on Instagram. Like, I
yeah,
don't
I
take it.
do love your social
Do you know what I
media.
mean? I don't take it. And yet I'm trying to write. I mean, mostly thrillers are entertainment, aren't they?
Yeah,
But I don't know. I feel like everyone says, oh, the best brand you can have is yourself, blah, blah, blah. But then you're totally right, because I'm putting content out there that probably doesn't match what I'm writing, which is,
mhm,
dark, I hope, emotive
yeah,
books. But at the same time, I don't want to be something that I'm not.
mhm,
So I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know what the answer is, to be honest.
No, I think just be true to yourself, right? Be authentic, and then that's all you can be, right? And then
Yeah.
hopefully
I
you'll
can't
just
be bothered to be
yourself.
anything else, to be honest.
No, I mean, you don't want to come in, you don't want to come in like almost perceiving yourself as that, a character in your book, because then
Yeah.
people might be like, who is this person?
Yeah, exactly.
Gonna
Well,
be
that
like
would be
me.
fun.
Yeah. So I'm interested, like, in your journey then to become traditionally published, and what it looked like to release your debut novel. So you mentioned that you sent your manuscript out to like 8 or 9 agents.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as you'll probably know, so you write 3 chapters and a
Mhm.
synopsis.
Yeah.
Well, you write first, obviously, and then, it is a laborious process. Um, it's really exciting, but it's really, you live on a knife edge of hope and
Mhm.
desperation, I think, when you're submitting to agents. And then, when you get an agent, which you have to be so tailored to your covering letter and everything like that. Even when you get an agent, there is no guarantee of getting a publisher, because I think we sent the prank out to about 11 or 12 UK publishers, and everyone passed on it. And it
Okay.
was and I already had written the twins, and
Yeah.
that was pretty much good to go. And I was excited about submitting to everybody. But then my agent said, oh, Welbeck is an indie that's just, um, formed.
Yeah.
Shall we send them the prank? And I kind of thought, oh, I was so done by that point of, I just didn't want to submit it anymore.
Yeah.
And said, oh yeah, fine, thinking they won't take it either. And they came back with an offer, which was so
Amazing.
amazing. um, but yeah, so it, like, everyone's journey is so different. Like, I was
Mhm.
so ready to put that book in a drawer next to another one that I had done. And
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I find it so interesting to hear about everyone's
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
there's no one size fits all. There's no, it's just a massive gamble at the end of the day, because,
Yeah.
you know, publishing is a gamble. They are paying you money when they might not get anything back from it.
Yeah.
Um, and if it works, everyone's happy. But then I guess you can have the other way, where a publisher pays too much for a book and it doesn't do as well as it should. And
Yes.
um, yeah, it's all a gamble.
Yeah. And it is. I mean, they must know. Like I had like, um, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you never know what's happening on the other side. So like, if you think about how many books are released, I mean, how many manuscripts must they be receiving? And if
Mm,
they've something similar that they've just
mm,
commissioned, they might say, well, no, because I've got something similar
yeah,
going to release. And also, yeah, like you said, I mean, they must know what they want, but I think at times it's like getting in there at the right time as well. Like your
yeah,
book could be something that they would pick up. But again, yeah, if they've just had a very similar book, then they're not going to go for another one like that until maybe
yeah,
they see how that does. And then if it's maybe a new trend or a new genre, etc., then it's
yeah.
going to be something that would be of interest to them. Um,
Mm,
but I think that's where determination comes in, right? Because and maybe that's your agent pushed you that little bit further. Like, come on, like that's why it's good to have an agent, right? Because they then can say, no, come on, let's just give it one more go. And if you hadn't, then you never know what could have happened. And thankfully you
yeah,
did, because then you got your
yeah,
publishing deal.
yeah. No, exactly. I mean, I'd kind of given up on that book, and I was exhausted having written it
Mm,
about 5 different times.
yeah,
Uh, but and an agent is the gatekeeper
yeah,
to that traditional world primarily, well, and digital as well, actually, because a lot of digital publishers will only um, accept solicited
yes,
manuscripts. Some don't. Um, but yeah, she's amazing. And again, like that relationship is a really interesting relationship with your editor, with your agent, because they're your friend and they're your champion and they're your business partner.
mm,
Um, but again, they're not just yours, like they represent a stable of authors. Sometimes it's difficult if they need to fight back with the publisher on a point that you have raised.
yeah,
They might have book with that editor. So that's a really interesting position, I think, for an agent to have.
yeah,
Like, I wouldn't be an agent for that reason. Like, my agent is amazing. She's diplomatic. She's really tenacious. She's really warm.
hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah, she's amazing, basically.
And that's a like you want to have that relationship, don't you, with an agent, because you're trusting them with something that you've
Yeah,
so much time on and
yeah,
so much into, and you want them to feel that as well. So when they are submitting it to publishing houses, that they have the same like enthusiasm as
yeah,
you and can share your story and yeah, you kind of trust
definitely.
that person to sell the book for you,
Uh,
which is that is their job. So, they should be
yeah,
able to do it. Yeah.
yeah, paying them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so what did it look like then? So you got the offer,
yes.
and then what was the process in terms of like getting that book out, and then how did they help market it from your debut side?
So they were brilliant. The only thing that wasn't brilliant, as I said, it was that it came out in the second lockdown. So there was no launch party to be had, and no lunches, and no like massive celebrations.
Yeah.
We did Zoom online, which was so nice. Um, but yeah, I mean the lead up to it. So a publisher tends to schedule a book a year in advance, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's more than that because of various things. They might want to do a really big edit, or they might be waiting for America to publish at the same time, and they always have a longer lead time in America. So I think they look at kind of 18 months.
Yeah.
Uh, Not always, but mostly. And yeah, so I had obviously never been on the other side of publishing before. So
Mhm.
there are a lot of long silences while they are, doing a structural edit and then giving it to you. And there's silence for
Yeah.
ages. And then there'll be, oh, we've got your cover. And then like, oh, a flurry of excitement, or we're going to pitch to these retailers. Ah, amazing. Um, but it is really weird because you're like, well, I know they're working because I've seen it. I've been there,
Yes.
but what are they doing? Like, what's happening with my book? Yeah, it's a bit mad, but it was like, I have to kind of remind myself when I'm writing the next manuscript of
Yeah.
how I've always dreamed about this.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
I don't know. Do you write as well?
I've written 2 books that I released, and I'm on my 3rd, but I've kind of taken a bit of a break just because I had my
Yeah.
children,
Yeah.
and do work full time as well. So it just all got, and then we moved. So it just all got a bit crazy. And I was like, oh, I haven't got the time to dedicate to it. Cause I'm someone like, I want to make sure that like my mind, like mindset is in the right kind of, yeah, the direction that I want it to be in. Cause I have a lot of like ideas, but yeah, it's one of those situations where, yeah, I'll get back to it, but I
Yeah.
then create this podcast. So that's something else I've just
Yeah.
added to my list of things.
Workload.
Yeah, my
Exactly.
workload. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like, when did you have the idea for it, and why did you decide on a podcast?
I'd had an idea for the podcast a while ago, and I just probably really got a great idea because I just love hearing people's stories, and um I yeah, just really love talking to people. I naturally do this in my everyday job. So I talk to a lot of people like across the whole like the UK and APAC and stuff. So I
Mm,
very used to doing that. And just an opportunity came up where I was kind of like, oh, I could either do it now or not do it. And I just thought, do you know what? Life's too short. If you don't do it now, you're probably just going to keep pushing it. And I was
yeah.
but I was like, hey, I'm just going to do it. So I was like, okay, got myself like, this is what I want to call. And I got my like, my design of what I want it to look like. And I was really like, oh God, what if like I reach out to authors and they just are like, no, or don't reply. And I started to reach out and then I just had people like authors reply going, oh, I'd love to. Da, da, da. And then I was like, oh, like it just kind of the weight got lifted and I was like, okay, this could work. And then, yeah, I just started doing it. And I have to say like it takes a lot of effort in the background because you've got to organize your back and forth with like people and
Mm,
you're doing these and you have to edit and then you have to promote it. So it is a lot in the background, but I love it. So it doesn't feel like it's like an additional work. It's like a passion of mine. And
yeah.
just once that I've had has been amazing. And I just think if I can one, highlight the journey for people that it takes, how you said every author's journey is very different. And I think if I can bring
Mm,
light to that for aspiring authors out there.
yeah.
Maybe they are indie and they want to go traditional. Maybe they've not even thought about submitting their manuscript yet and they just want to know the process just to give them a
Yeah.
bit of ease.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. And then from the other side is I just want to offer authors another way to promote themselves and get to know,
Oh,
readers to get to know them behind the books. Um, and yeah, so hopefully I'm doing that and
yeah.
it'll start, you know, the response I've had has been fantastic. And I've got I've got you on, I've had some great authors, I've got some more. I'm already looking at next year of like what season 2 will look like and authors that I'll have on there and just trying to expand a little bit. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
been
That's great.
exciting. Yeah.
It's really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm
Yes.
so with you on that attitude. It's like the now or never kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And put off tomorrow, 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 and then
Yeah.
nothing ever gets done.
No, and I think that from a writing perspective, that sometimes people just put it off. Oh, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. No, I'm going to wait. And actually, you shouldn't wait till it's good enough because you're going to get probably a lot of edits, and
Oh my
you're
God.
coming back saying no, you need to change this. So I think submit like what you think is as good as you can give, and then expect that you are going to have edits to make.
That is so true. Like, I would say to any aspiring authors listening that it's never going to be perfect, or you'll never feel it is perfect. There are always things you can do. Like, if I was to look back at the books I've written, I would definitely be like, oh, I'll edit that. I'd edit this, blah, blah, blah. But at some point, if you want to be published,
Yeah.
you have to let it go. And as soon as you sign that publishing deal, you kind of have to emotionally let go of it as well, because it's not yours anymore and it's a business and it's a product. And that's really hard for people to hear.
Yeah.
And I think that's another advantage I have from having worked in the industry is that, creative meeting business is always going to be a little bit of friction there because, you can work for so long and you pour so much into it in a way that, you don't if you're manufacturing sausages or something.
Yeah.
Um, but then it's the publisher's job to get it out there. And you don't know what your marketing budget is. You don't know what your retail sales budget is.
Mm.
You just kind of have to let that go,
Yeah.
and will be. And yeah, that's quite tough, I think, for anyone who is a debut waiting for your book to come out. I would say, you know, trust the experts.
Yeah.
Expect a lot because, that's why they've bought it.
Yeah.
They should manage it properly. Um, but it's not yours anymore in that when it's that far down the line, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So when you got your offer, did you just get one book deal? Did you get two? What did that look like for you?
So I had a one book deal, and then I think in most cases your contract will say the next book you've written, it's there's a clause in the contract that says you must show your current publisher
Mhm.
first.
Yeah.
And that was fine because I had a really nice experience with Welbeck at the time. They've now been bought by Hachette. Um, but I gave them my second book and they really loved it. So I signed a 2-book deal.
Yeah.
Um, and my agent was brilliant actually, because with most multiple deals, uh, a publisher offers a joint accounting clause, which
Mhm.
means you would only start earning your advances once your joint advance was earned out. But
Okay.
my agent was like, oh, well, I'll get that on single accounting. And she did. I don't think that's possible now.
Yeah.
So with Penguin, I signed a 1-book deal. And I mean, everyone's different. Some people like the security of a multiple deal. Um,
Yes.
but I do feel that, if you signed a 2-book deal and your first book went astronomic,
Yeah.
you know, then you might feel a bit annoyed that you didn't have the leverage to maybe up the
Mhm.
money for a
Yeah.
book.
Mhm.
Or, if your first book bombs with sales, the chances are the publisher's not going to put the much effort into the second one. And then you've kind
Yeah.
of, you know, I
Yeah.
I don't feel that there's much benefit
Yeah.
in a multi deal unless you're
Yeah.
paid huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
be honest, they've paid you a huge amount of money. It's in their interest to make that book work.
100%. Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
thought.
And
Yeah.
I don't know the ins and outs, but I can remember when Pippa Roscoe joined the podcast, she was actually saying nowadays that they're not even some agents or like publishers aren't even giving like the advances. So like they want to wait to see
Oh,
kind of what,
right. Yeah.
especially their debut, they want to see if those, you know, how those authors, you know, sell with their first book. And then once you start selling, um they'll start paying out. But again, I don't know whether that's um
Mm. I
like
think,
what publishing houses do that. But I can imagine maybe going that way, especially if they're getting more that aren't doing as well as they thought. And yeah, thinking about a cost perspective.
yeah, I think advanced levels have definitely gone down.
Mm.
Uh, but then you see some authors paid a huge amount,
Yeah,
not just celebrities, but huge numbers on debuts, or
yeah.
if there's a trend happening, then you'll get a lot of
Mm.
money on romantasy, for example, um, or erotica. When I was in
Yeah,
publishing, Shades thing was like really taking off when I was there. So
yeah,
then you a lot of money paid to writers,
yeah,
erotic writers, erotic writers.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think like, and also, so digital publishing tend not to give advances, but they give higher royalties. So you'll start earning straight away.
yeah,
Um, I think every model is different.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know what the right one is or the best
No,
one, to be honest. I guess it depends
I
on
think it's
what
just
you,
yeah. I think it's just depend on in like individual, isn't it? Really, and who
yeah,
you're with.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So your second book, you mentioned earlier was a pick of Richard and Judy, right? And
yeah.
how how did that impact you from having that?
Oh my gosh. I remember when my editor told me, they don't usually tell you that they've submitted you because
Okay.
chances are of getting it are really slim.
Yeah.
Um, so the way it works is that they change the selection every 3 months, maybe a bit less. I think it's 4 times a year, so maybe it is 3 months. And it's in collaboration. Well, it was Smiths, now it's TG Jones. But your publisher nominates you for the slot.
Hmm.
Then there's a long list which TG Jones decide at head office, or Smiths, as it were. And then when they get it down to a short list, they send 20 books to Richard and Judy and they read the 20 and then they pick 6.
Yeah.
But there's a huge amount of, you know, books, and
Yeah.
my editor called me and she was like, oh my God, we've got R&J. And it was just, yeah, so awesome. I didn't get to meet them in person because of COVID
Yes.
restrictions. But I had a chat with them online, which was so cool. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, I feel like with the twins, with any big slot like that, you are given just a bit more visibility, and
yeah.
it broadens out your audience. And to be
Mhm.
honest, because that slot means that the stock in
Yes.
Smith's Travel was so big, that was so useful and beneficial to me as a writer to kind of stand out just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it was brilliant. I am so grateful to Welbeck for pitching me for it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that
Yeah,
story. I love that. And you've probably
yeah,
got more followers and people buying your books, and it helps obviously now that you've released another two since then. Um,
yeah.
so how, in terms of your inspiration then, because I'm interested, what made you start writing in the genre that you do and what inspires you?
Do you know what? I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like the genre was just a kind of natural. I don't know. I really do love how people think and the psyche of a person.
Yeah.
Like the latest book, To Love a Liar, is, you know, yes, it's about the undercover policing scandal, but it is also about the unraveling of someone's mind.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love exploring about people. I did psychology in A level, and I
Okay,
just,
there you go.
yeah, I love it. Um, I don't. I read a few books in the genre,
Yeah.
obviously, because I
Yeah.
think they are amazing. But I don't solely read
Mhm.
psychological or crime. I feel like with any one genre, you can have a bit much of the same
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have a palate cleanser. But yeah, I just feel my mind naturally goes to I don't know, a bit of intrigue and a bit of mystery,
Yeah.
and yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Do you do any like preparation, or like what do you do to kind of tell the story? Do you go anywhere? Do you do anything? Do you speak to people?
I think it depends, like which books. Like with To Love a Liar, I was so diligent in research
Mhm.
because it is a real world thing, or
Mhm.
world, UK thing. I had to be so sensitive to each voice, if you
Yeah.
know what I mean. So I read a lot, and I watched a lot of interviews, and I looked at a lot of websites, not only of victims of misconduct
Mhm.
with the police scandal,
Yeah.
but also with police themselves. I talked to the guy who was involved in the inquiry, one of the really senior officers. Um, so yeah, I had to get that right because I didn't want to get that wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like that is a massive responsibility that an author takes on for
Mm.
anything real life. Like crime writers, they really know how the crime system works and the police hierarchies and stuff, because there'll always be a reader that is like, oh no, that wouldn't happen, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah,
Yes.
which is good. Like you need to be held accountable, right,
Yeah.
for what
Yeah.
you're writing,
Yeah.
because, books are, um, you have to be truthful.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a way that, online or something on TikTok or whatever doesn't have the same weight of responsibility, I
Mm.
guess.
Yeah. That's
Um,
very true. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I've forgotten the original question.
No, it's just on how do you yeah, like, what kind of research or how do you prep to write your manuscripts? I think that's good insight, like you said, because you wanna make it believable, and if you're
Yeah.
it's like sometimes I watch, like, a TV series, and I'm like, "That would never happen." Like, it's just so
No.
far-fetched.
Yeah,
But
no, that's so
I think with a
true.
book, you don't want it to come across that way because you need to entice the audience, right? You need to capture their attention. I think the more realistic it is, the more that we believe that that is happening because
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
trust it and we
definitely.
actually understand because we've seen these things around. And so, yeah, the more believable it is, the more, yeah, you're going to capture your
Yeah.
audience.
I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously there is artistic license and
Yes.
there is a suspension of disbelief in some cases.
Yeah.
Especially if you're writing more of an entertainment thriller, like The Prank is much more kind of about entertainment than it is, you know,
Yeah.
something as heavy as To Love a Liar.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, as you say, it has to be believable because otherwise your readers are going to be like, well, you stop caring, don't you, if you don't believe it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's very true. It's very true.
yeah.
So, what's next for you then in terms of, are you writing a book at the moment? Can you share
Oh,
anything about what's
yeah,
happening?
this bloody book. Um, I love the concept of it, but it's driving me crazy. I've essentially written it and then rewritten it since May. And it's not bought yet, so I can't really say much about it, but I will say it's set in America.
Yeah.
I won't get to go to
I was going to
America
say,
because as you, I have small kids and I don't have the time or the money. But I'm really enjoying well, I say I'm enjoying writing it. I love the story. It's just taking me a very long time. So as soon as I finish with you, I will be back writing it again.
yeah.
But
Do
yeah.
you skip do you give yourself, like, a window of writing? Because obviously you mentioned you have 2, 2 small children, obviously at
Yeah.
school. Like,
Yeah.
you try and write in the day when they're at school?
I do now. So I now write full time. So I have that window of 9 till 3. But I'm really bad at saying yes to people when they go, "Hey, do you want a coffee?"
Yeah.
And I think that's the danger of being freelance as well, that
Yes.
people just think you're free all the time, but I don't make it easy on myself. I just be like, "No, I'm working." But
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, sure."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've said to myself, like, no socializing until Christmas because
Yeah.
I won't get it done.
Yeah. Do you feel, are you better when you're under pressure, like there's a deadline that you've got to get it in by?
Uh, no, actually, to be honest, I am quite good
Yeah.
generally at saying because I don't like being unproductive. Um, but obviously, if there's a deadline, then it gives me more of an excuse to say no.
Yes.
But yeah, I just am a bit rubbish generally,
Yeah.
regardless.
Procrastinate a lot.
Yeah, oh, massively. Are you or
Yeah, no, I sometimes, like, I'll sit there, like, earlier I was doing something and then I was like, "I've just been, like, 40 minutes, like, what have I been doing?" Like,
yeah,
so and I was like, "I've got a list of things I need to get through," and so, yeah, I was just, like, just on a tangent, like, "Oh, this," and then someone might message me about something else, and then I was like this, and I was like, I've not done anything that's, like, being, like, good with my time right now."
yeah. I think there's so many things to distract us as well. I've got a group of writer friends
Yes.
and we text a lot to the point where I'm just like, actually, guys, we set up this group because we like supporting each other, but
Yeah.
actually now we're all distracting each other and getting nothing done. So, yeah,
That's a good point actually, because I was gonna ask you about, like, what's your network like? What's your kind of support network look like?
I have met the loveliest writers
Yeah.
because it is such a lonely job, isn't it?
Yeah.
And um, I am quite a social being, you know. So I love meeting people. I love talking to people, and I've met people from all over, which is so lovely. And
Yeah.
occasionally we'll all meet up, which is so nice. Um, but yeah, I feel like they're a real lifeline author friends because they get it in a way that my home friends won't because
Yeah.
they're not in the industry,
Mhm.
and sometimes it can be a really hard place to be.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you've not got the news you wanted, or your book isn't visible in the way you wanted it to be, or
Yeah.
whatever the thing is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I think it's beneficial. Like, are you part of any associations, or are you just like you've got your
I'm
own?
not I'm not actually. I probably should be part of the Society of Authors.
Yeah,
I just haven't got around to it.
yeah,
But no, I've met so many lovely people online,
yeah,
and I've met people at there's a book festival, the Harrogate Crime Festival that people go to every year,
yeah,
and such a big one that your agents go, your editors, like it's basically like a big Freshers Week.
yeah.
Um, and I met loads of people through that as well that we'd been talking online but never
Oh,
met, and
lovely.
that's just been really nice. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
think everyone's just so friendly, aren't they? And
they are.
wants to support each other because it's
Yeah,
a very competitive industry, and I think at times you can sit there and that can be something that stops you from putting yourself out there more, and you
yeah.
can spiral. So I think it's nice when actually you have that network and you go to these events because everyone's feeling the same, and then it's
Oh,
just like you
totally.
can talk
And
about
also,
it.
yeah, because as good as social media is for
Yeah,
connections and like people shouting about your book, you can feel like you're really alone because you
yeah,
are competing with all these people, but
yeah,
actually you're kind of not
yeah,
because they are all friends
yeah,
or they can be. And just because someone's bought one book, it doesn't mean that they won't buy another.
yeah.
And um, you know, a lot of it's smoke and mirrors too. So you can put your best face forward on social media. It doesn't mean that things are rosy
Yes.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I have seen quite a few authors now share like their life. Like you that was funny yesterday when I was watching your post and you're like in your dressing gown.
Like literally that is it. I don't know what all these other people are doing. Like
No.
they go out and have lunches. I mean, I do have lunches, but do you know what I mean? I was just
Yeah,
like, actually the reality for me at
yeah,
least is I'm in my dressing gown looking like a Fagin and eating chocolate and trying to bang out some words.
yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes we can get so like kind of captivated by maybe some of these authors that have had their books adapted into like like a movie, like
Yeah.
a worldwide movie, and look at their lifestyle and think, "Oh, that's like what people do." Like, and it's actually no, that's just because they've had like maybe 4 or 5 like movies that have been
Yeah.
released and they're making the big bucks now, but actually
Yeah,
this authors
totally. Totally. And publishing goes like this, like just because you've had one massive seller, it doesn't
Yeah,
mean the next ones are going to be as big, or maybe you've had a TV option,
yeah,
and someone's bought it and it looks amazing, but then it doesn't actually get like made.
yeah, yeah,
And, there are so many books out there and so many opportunities for
yeah,
all of us. And that's really lovely.
yeah,
So I think publishing and authors are perceived as really glamorous, and it is such a cool life. I'm not going to
yes,
lie. It can be incredibly
yeah,
glamorous
yeah,
and fun.
yeah,
Um, but the majority of the time is just sat at your desk.
yeah.
Or it should be, because otherwise you're doing something wrong, right?
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
an everyday person, like, just
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
I had, like, Sophie Cousins on, the other week and, she's had one of her books adapted, but like she said,
Yeah.
she's still at home writing and looking after her children and doing
Yeah.
yoga and, she's in Jersey, so she's, like,
Yeah.
not living it up in LA or anything and so
Yeah, but even if you were, like, I guarantee that actually your life wouldn't be
no,
necessarily different.
no.
You know what I mean?
Very
Yeah.
true, very true. Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So where can people find you, Liv? Where's the best place to find you and your books?
Yeah. So, well, any good indie,
Yeah,
you can go in and audio up books. So at the moment, To Love a Liar is still £6 in Tesco. It's £6 on
amazing.
Amazon. It's in Smith's Travel in the airports. It is in TG Jones.
Yeah,
And you can find me on social media. On Twitter, I am at LV underscore Matthews no, I'm not. On Twitter at LV underscore Matthews, and on Instagram, I am on at LV underscore Matthews underscore author.
brilliant. Do you have a
Really
website?
hard to remember. I don't have a website yet.
Okay.
I'm actually, my friend like really berates me for it. I mean, she does make websites, but she's like, look, I don't berate you because I want your business, but you need a website. So I probably should at some point get a website.
It's another thing to do though, isn't it? I do think
Oh,
that,
no,
and just for us
maintain.
that
And
managers here.
yeah, it's a lot of money if you get someone to do it professionally.
Yeah.
And yeah, one day I will.
Yeah.
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 Maybe I'll make my own and it will just be a bit rubbish, but
What about if people,
yeah.
place where people can go and buy your books? That could just be one place.
Yeah.
Well, I've absolutely loved chatting to you, Liv. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and
Oh,
sharing your
welcome.
story. Brilliant. Well, have a great day.
You too.
See you. Bye. Bye.